talked about in the first video and thinking about what interpersonal mastery looks like, one of the things we'll be exploring deeper in the class is, as I said, how to make our interpersonal effectiveness more of a conscious process, more of an active process, which I think the personal mastery really got your whistles wet around that, about how to take leadership and make it more active, starting obviously with yourself. This process then asks you to look at what happens interpersonally and how can I take more of a proactive approach and not just shoot from the hip and do whatever I think is needed, and make it more of an informed process. What I like to talk about lots of times is thinking about work and how to make work more like practice. So I don't know how many of you have ever played in a sport. For those of you that have ever played in a sport, we spend probably something like, 90% of our time practicing and only 10% or less in the game. I was a wrestler, so we practiced for an entire month for that first 6-minute match. Then I think about work. Well, work to me seems the exact opposite. I spent 99% of my time in the game and only 1% or less in a workshop like this or something like that, where I actually get to practice and think about some of these things. So the reality is, in our work life, we're not going to be able to switch that ratio. We're going to spend a lot of time in the game. So how do I shift my thinking? And again, back to my question, how do we make work more like practice? In personal mastery, they discussed a model that gave you the opportunity to look at yourself and look at your intention. What do I want to be as a leader? Who am I as a leader? Look at your history, what you've done. All those things shape how to be a leader. So to come out with some kind of an intention. Once you have that intention, let's take it on the road. Let's practice, see what happens. See what we learn, see what we notice, and do it more actively. After that, take some time. Take some time pausing, reflecting, thinking about what happened, what worked well, what didn't. Practice again, take it on the road. And then add to your awareness of what is working in terms of my own effectiveness, my own satisfaction, and then to help that inform my overall intention. So all I'm going to add to that is thinking about communication and thinking about language and thinking about working with others and that interpersonal mastery piece, of just adding to it another way to think about it in terms of working with others as well. So I'm going to add just a few more words to it and say, let's just call this the game plan. Let's just call it the game plan. Hopefully so it's a little easier to remember. I've got my game plan. All that work you did in personal mastery to figure out who you are as a leader, what do you want, what are you looking for. Then we'll just call this first practice the game. We are in the game. We are in the game of life. But now with more informed awareness, with more intentionality, not just shooting from the hip, not just reacting. Now, certainly there are situations, and I think we're going to break this down. There's not just the game, but there's the game plus the game in stress. Because the rules change a little bit in stress. So I want us to look at both of these, although the cycle is still going to be the same. And there's times when everything works dandy, right? Things play along, people do what they want, we're effective, we feel satisfied, everything happens. Of course, during stress, it's a different set. And often what happens is we try to use the same things that helped us survive to get through that, and it gets us nowhere. And we use certain responses, blaming others, saying, hey, I didn't have, they didn't understand me. That's their problem. So we want to look at, in this class, what are some of the things that happen in that moment too. Either one, no matter what happens, moving to the debrief or the reflection, whichever we want to call it, so important then to move to that reflection piece. Things like plus delta, what worked well, what would I change? Things that, from back to the intention, how well did I do? How well did the intent equal the impact? What do I need to do different next time? And then move to our practice again, we'll just call clean it up. Hey, we're all not going to be perfect in that first round. It's not always going to be perfect. And when I make an effort to clean it up, either from a positive place or a negative place, it shows that we're human. It shows that we will make mistakes. If it's something that was positive, then we can follow up, reaffirm, appreciate, check in, say, I was really glad how we worked together at that point. If it didn't go so well, then we can get together again and say, hey, you know what? I'm human, I made a mistake, got the better of me, let's talk it over. Let's try again. I want to be real clear about my intention. Clarify, try again. That kind of humanizes us. Then, back to the awareness, or we'll just call them learnings, again, which inform, ultimately, our intention and back to the game plan. Some kind of active cycle that helps us make all of this a more active process in the process of becoming successful in our interpersonal mastery.